Hello and welcome to this week's Saturday session on Junior Cycle Home Economics, where we'll be looking at health and well-being. Make sure to follow us on our social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook and YouTube. We have lots of past videos on YouTube from all of our different subjects on offer. Make sure to check them out. And there is a Saturday session posted every single Saturday during the school year. So today's plan, we're going to look at health and well-being part 1 and part 2. You can access part 3 on our ExamRevision.ie website, where you can sign up for the Junior Cycle Home Ec there. So health and well-being are learning intentions. So this is quite a long unit, but it has come up a good bit in the 2022 paper, and it's one of those chapters which applies to your own life as a teenager as well. So it's super important, and it's one which you would also learn about in SPHE. So learning intentions include listing the elements that contribute to good health and well-being, discussing precautions against illness, explaining the importance of a balanced diet, outlining the importance of sleep, creating good sleep guidelines, discussing the importance of regular exercise, explaining the need for leisure and relaxation, give reasoning for good personal hygiene, creating personal hygiene guidelines, elaborating on the need for sun protection for the skin, developing skin maintenance guidelines, analysing the internal structure and the components of a tooth, explaining what causes tooth decay, which is one that came up in the 2022 paper, and creating good oral hygiene guidelines. So first of all, you should think about what do you know about health and well-being. A good revision technique when you're revising over a subject is to write down the heading of the topic and write down everything that you know, and then once you've studied over it, go back in and write down additional information but in a different colour, and it allows you to visualise your learning. So well-being. So the WHO, which we have all heard of due to the COVID-19 pandemic, they describe health as a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease. Okay, so essentially what it is, put into more student-friendly vocabulary, is that well-being is when people are physically and mentally healthy and have a sense of purpose and belonging. So that would be a key definition that you'd have to know when describing what well-being is. And well-being is currently a buzz within junior cycle education, because it's something that's coming up a lot across all of the subjects and not just home ec and SPHE. So there are 7 key areas which we need to look at when we're looking at physical health and well-being. So we have precautions against illness, we have a balanced diet, we have sleep, exercise, leisure and relaxation, personal hygiene and health hazards. Now, all of these don't have to be looked at in that specific order. That's just how I've put it up for the ExamRevision website. Now you'll notice on the right that there is practice being super, every little person helps. So this is mnemonic, okay? So it helps you to remember all of the names of the different areas that you look at in physical health and well-being. So say for example, the P for practice comes from precautions against illness, the B for being comes from balanced diet, the S from super comes from sleep, the E from every comes from exercise, the L from leisure relaxation, P for person from personal hygiene, and H for health hazards. Now, the best thing you could probably do is create your own one, because you're more likely to remember, but that's a nice little guide to help you. So now what we're going to do is start to look at these in more detail, looking first at precautions against illness, okay? So this is all about when you're getting your vaccinations as a child. So from when you're a couple of weeks old, you start to get, all the different vaccines. So say, for example, mumps, measles and rubella vaccine. You get developmental checks during early childhood. So the community nurse would check you. You'd be checked as soon from, essentially from the minute you're born. Essentially, when you get, your vaccines, it establishes healthy lifestyle habits, and it, prevents you from getting certain conditions and diseases later in life. So immunization is essentially a process that makes people or animals immune or resistant to infections. What they do is they put a tiny bit of whatever, say for example, like when you're getting if you were getting a COVID-19 vaccine, they put, a variation of live COVID into your body, and your body produces antibodies, and it fights against it, and essentially you have these little cells in your white blood cells in your body that help your body to remember what COVID is, and then if you do catch it, that you won't be as badly affected as without. So that's how vaccines work. So the HSC essentially gives you your vaccines. If you want to get like more tropical vaccines, you have to pay for it. But all the other ones are all free. So they provide a range of immunizations to prevent a range of diseases, including meningitis, measles, mumps, and rubella. So everyone have like a little circle on the top of their shoulder. There's kind of an indent, and that's from your MMR vaccine. So measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. So the second area we're going to look at is balanced diet. So this is all about the food pyramid. Make sure to check out our Saturday session where I look at the food pyramid. The food pyramid is one of those areas which, spans across the entire junior cycle home ec curriculum. It also links in with SPHE and science, okay? So when you talk about balanced diet, you're talking about, having 3 out of the 4 main food groups. So you're talking about veg, salads and fruit. You're talking about wholemeal cereals and breads, potatoes, pasta and rice, how many servings you'd have, the milk, yogurt and cheese section, and the meat, poultry, fish, eggs, beans and nuts. You'll be talking about fat spreads and oils and foods which are high in sugar, fat, sugar and salt. You'll be talking about not consuming them as regularly, because they are bad for your health. So when you have a balanced diet, it means that you're getting all the correct nutrients in the correct amounts for your body, and it means you're going to be healthy and free from diseases, for example like scurvy. So if you're getting your vitamin C from your vegetables, salads and fruit, then it means your gums aren't going to recede. Now that's kind of an older disease that affected sailors. You're preventing stuff like osteoporosis, so when your bones are porous, and that's because you're not getting enough calcium and vitamin D, which is found in dairy products. So getting enough sleep. So as a teenager, sleep is very important, okay? If you don't get enough sleep, you're not going to want to be able to do anything in the morning. You're going to be, potentially irritated. You're not going to want to go to school. When you do go to school, you're not going to be learning anything. So sleep is an essential thing, okay? It helps the body to support healthy brain function and to maintain physical health. If you are sleep deprived, your body isn't going to be able to recuperate, and it means it's going to be, because it's working harder to keep you awake, it's going to be, mean that you're going to start to catch more, colds and flus and stuff like that, because your body is working so hard. You're putting strain on your body. So children and teenagers, you need it for growth and development, okay? So teenagers need 9 hours of sleep each night, okay? If you don't get enough, as I said before, you might feel angry, impulsive or sad. It essentially makes everything seem 1,000 times worse than it is, okay? And you won't be motivated. So you mightn't, if you've ever slept in far too late on a Saturday and you get up and you just really don't want to go and do anything, that's because there's such a thing as getting too much sleep, okay? There's also such a thing as not getting enough sleep. So if you're not getting enough sleep, the last thing you want to do is go off and study or go off and walk the dog. So instead you're probably just going to sit down and play on the Xbox all day. So it's not good. So sleep deprivation can lead to, trouble paying attention in school, which means you're going to get lower grades and you're going to essentially get yourself in trouble. So sleeping tips. You should be going to bed and getting up at the same time, every day, even on the weekends, which I know is a bit challenging, because this, you have what's called a circadian rhythm. So this is essentially your body's clock, and it will know that, I have to get up at 7 and go to bed at 10 every day. Avoid screen time and phone and TV at least an hour before bed, because you've all probably heard of the blue light, okay? So it inhibits or prevents melatonin, which is a sleep hormone, from being released into your bloodstream. So it's like a natural sleeping tablet essentially that your body produces. So using devices also causes your subconscious to stay awake. So if you're watching Netflix in bed before you go to bed, chances are your brain is still switched on thinking about that show and what's happening in the plot. You should make sure you have a good quality mattress and pillow, because if the bed's uncomfortable, you're going to be twisting and turning all night and you're not going to get good quality sleep. Your bedroom should be cool and dark. If it's too hot, you're not going to sleep. If it's too cold, you're not going to sleep either. Avoid caffeinated drinks, so coffee, Coca-Cola, energy drinks before you go to bed, because these prevent melatonin from being secreted in the quantity that it should be. So you should try, for example, like herbal teas like chamomile or milk instead when you're going to bed. So next one here, we're heading on to our fourth area, which is exercise and fitness. Okay, so we all know that we need regular exercise for good physical health and mental well-being. Okay, and this is, becoming more topical. I'm sure you learn all about this in junior cycle PE. So teenagers are recommended to get 60 minutes of exercise daily. So, for example, when you're walking from class to class, you're building up those minutes. When you're walking around on yard, walking to and from school, you're walking your dog. This is how you're going to bring up your recommended daily exercise. So lack of regular exercise over a period of time will mean, you become unfit, more likely to develop obesity, which means you're more likely to develop type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and experience breathing difficulties later in life. So benefits of regular exercise. So you know that it, keeps you muscly. Your muscles are toned and joints are flexible. Improves health and well-being. So a lot of people, like to go for a run or go walk the dog because, it's good, to get yourself out of the house. It's good to think of other things, okay? So it's really good for your well-being. It improves your fitness levels. May lead to weight loss. It means that you have more efficient lungs, less risk of coronary heart disease, can reduce high blood pressure, which is also known as hypertension. When you're playing team sports, you're building up your confidence, your communication skills, you're making friends. It slows down the aging process. So, for example, weight-bearing exercises are used to prevent osteoporosis later on in life. So it has a whole range of benefits, and I'm sure everyone should be able to at least give me 2 or 3 of these without even having to study, because it's been drilled into us since we were small. So here is a sample paper from the State Examinations Commission. So this says here, 4 out of 5 children in the Republic of Ireland do not meet government physical activity guidelines, okay? So recommend 2 different ways parents or carers could increase their children's daily exercise. So make sure to check out our my junior cycle home ec YouTube Saturday session on question analysis, okay? And where you're be able to figure out how much detail a question is asking you, okay? So this is recommend, so it's looking for you to write a sentence, okay? We're looking at 2 different ways parents could increase their child's daily allowance. So for example, parents could get children involved in walking the dog. And you can see there that there's an error, so that's fine, because in the exam, the examiner, when they're correcting it afterwards, they'll see that there's an error there, but they'll be able to understand the gist of what you're writing, so you won't miss out on marks for typos at all. So don't be worrying about spelling in home ec exams. The next one, parents could bring children to see different outdoor areas, making the exercise more interesting. So say, for example, going to the beach and running through the sand and having your feet going through the ocean. You don't realize that you're doing exercise because it's fun. So they're just some sample ways of answering it. This is from the 2022 exam. So this was from question 13. Cycling has become a popular family holiday activity, okay? So you see I've highlighted discuss, which means it's from a long, detailed, so you're going to have to state, explain, example. They're looking for 3 benefits. They're giving you 3 spots, which is, make sure that you don't skip one of the answers. And you're looking at cycling for a family holiday, okay? So it's a bit more specific. And these are sample answers, and these are from my opinion, okay? So the first one you could say is that it's a good form of exercise and you're building up muscle strength, so therefore it's suitable for the whole family. So you can have, those little little small wheels that you put onto kids' bicycles so they be able to cycle as well. It's a sustainable activity, okay, because cars release harmful substance into the atmosphere which damages the ozone layer. Cycling allows the family to get out of the house and get fresh air, which is good for your well-being. So next we're going to look at leisure and relaxation. So leisure and relaxation are essentially time spent away from work or study, okay? So when you choose to do these activities, they're stuff that you most enjoy with friends, family, or on your own, all right? So for example, when someone sits at a desk all day, and maybe if you're working in a call center or you're working for an IT company, you know, when you get out of there, the last thing you want to go and do is go home and just sit there. You probably would like to get out for a bit. You might want to go out and play a bit of soccer with your friends. You might want to go and, play camogie. You might want to go to a dance class. You might just want to walk your dog in the evening, okay? So this is something which you do for enjoyment. So these are key to maintaining your well-being. So if you think back to the height of COVID, where we weren't allowed to leave our homes more than 2 kilometres, you couldn't see your friends, you couldn't go off and do all your outdoor hobbies and meet with clubs, you can think of how that made you feel. So this is why it's super important that you continue to do leisure and relaxation, especially for students who are in exam years, because it can happen where students just think they need to study the whole time and they give up, the soccer, they give up going to the cinema with the friend, or they give up walking the dog because they think they don't have the time. But you have to look after your mental well-being as well as your physical well-being so that, you're able to properly study. So benefits of leisure and relaxation: reduces stress. You'll always feel less stress after doing a hobby or walking the dog. Makes more friends if you think of any clubs you go to. Increases fitness, keep your brain active. So it stops you from getting bored essentially. It helps you to learn a new skill. So next thing we're going to look at now is the 6th section, which is personal hygiene. So personal hygiene is necessary for good health and well-being, okay? This is why we wash our hair and we wash our bodies, because we don't want it to become, smelly, and then it means that you don't want to go out of the house because you're afraid of other people, smelling you. So therefore, it's essential that you keep your body, your teeth, your hair, and your clothes clean and tidy, okay? It makes you feel more confident, more comfortable, and more socially accepted. So personal hygiene guidelines, so these are like tips, okay? So you should wash yourself every day, preferably a shower over a bath. And why would you do that? Because you're using less water, so therefore it is more sustainable and it is better for the environment. Use deodorant or antiperspirant after washing. So deodorant is the roll-on, antiperspirant is the stuff you spray. So whilst you're spraying it, it's not as good for the environment, but it's also means that you're still going to sweat a bit. It's more like a bit of perfume being sprayed on, because usually, like the sprays do smell quite nice, whereas the deodorant will actually, there isn't as strong as a smell, but it will actually, coat your underarms. It would mean that you're actually not going to sweat as much, okay? Changing underwear and socks every day, because, socks get very stinky. Change and wash out clothing on a regular basis. Now, if you're wearing a pair of trousers and they're still clean, there's no point in putting them in the wash every single day, okay? Because that's bad for the environment, because you're washing the whole time, and it means that you're using washing powder, so you're using electricity. So, think if it's dirty, put it in the bin. And washing your hair regularly, especially people with long hair, because otherwise it starts to get oily and greasy and full of dandruff. Washing hands frequently during the day, especially after using the toilet or before eating or preparing food. So that's something that everyone got much better at due to the COVID pandemic. Brushing your teeth every morning. So brush your teeth after you've eaten. If you do it beforehand, you're going to be left with food sitting on your teeth all day, which means the food's going to be, eating away through your enamel because of the acid. Do it at night, and if possible after meals, but we all know that that's not possible for everyone because, we don't usually tend to bring toothbrushes to school. Changing sanitary towels or tampons frequently to prevent leakage and body odor, okay? Skincare in the sun. So Too much sun damages your skin and causes premature aging and skin cancer. So Ireland has quite high levels of skin cancer in the EU, and that's just because of our, we've quite fair skin, and because we're in Ireland, we tend to think, oh, there's no sun, it's raining the whole time, we don't need to wear sun cream, but in fact you should be wearing it 365 days of the year. So 90% of skin cancers are caused by UV. So UV stands for ultraviolet rays. So these can be prevented by wearing a hat and sunglasses, which covers your face, covering your skin, particularly if you have moles or birthmarks, okay, because they're more likely to, mutate and potentially turn into something more harmful. Avoiding too much sun, especially around midday when it is most intense. Wearing a high SPF sun cream every day all year round, so that's factor 50, and never using sunbeds. Sunbeds are extremely dangerous and do lead to skin cancer. So wearing high SPF sun cream, a lot of makeup brands now, they have the SPF integrated into the foundation, they have it into the moisturizer that you put on your face in the morning. So it is becoming, more common for people to wear sun cream, but just not as many people do. So healthy skin, so your sweat glands make perspiration, which is essentially your sweat, okay? So this is excreted onto the surface of your skin. When that mixes with the oil from your glands, this is what causes, body odor and makes it smell. So this is why we must wash our skin. If you're not washing your skin as much, it can lead to blackheads and pimples. Now, whilst, yes, not washing your face leads to blackheads and pimples, in some cases it's just genetic and it's due to acne. So that's where you have severe, spots on your face and they just won't clear up, and it causes, they're actually very, very sore. They look aggravated and they cause scarring, and in that case it's genetics and there's nothing you are doing wrong, and it doesn't mean that you're a dirty person. It means that you need to go to your GP and they'll put you on, special cream or, medication to help clear it up. Neglecting skin can lead to body odor. So if you've ever gone and played a match and you've forgotten your deodorant after, you feel self-conscious because you feel a bit stinky. Neglecting skin can lead to infection. So if you get a cut and you don't clean it, it's going to lead to an infection, which is our body's way of, fighting against foreign things entering the body, and it can lead to sepsis, which essentially kills. It also means that you might feel that you're less attractive because if, you're a bit smelly, or if you've more, spots, it can make you really feel self-conscious, which means, that, for example, like girls might be putting more makeup on. So how to maintain healthy skin, okay? So you should avoid foods that are high in fat and sugar, and there's a typo there, so I apologize for that. Drink plenty of water, 2 to 2.5 liters per day. Keeping your skin clean, so using a cleanser and a toner in the evening. Taking makeup off, because if you sleep with your makeup, your skin essentially isn't going to be able to breathe, so it's going to cause more spots to essentially grow on the face. Eating foods that are high in protein, vitamins and minerals are really good, because vitamins and minerals contain antioxidants, which essentially remove free radicals from the body. So all of your rainbow colored foods, so apples, strawberries, blueberries, very high in antioxidants. Avoiding overexposure to direct sunlight, so not going out and sitting in the sun at 12 o'clock in the day, because that's when you're most likely to get sunburnt. Getting enough sleep, so for teenagers 9 hours a night. Not smoking or drinking alcohol. Getting exercise and fresh air. So we're going to talk about skin cancer next. So skin cancer is often caused by essentially long-term exposure to direct, UV sunlight or overusing sunbeds, okay? So there's many different forms of skin cancer and they can be cured if treated in time, okay? So these are certain ways to help you to prevent skin cancer, okay? So wearing a sun hat or a cap to protect your head and face, avoiding sunbathing for long periods, especially at midday, okay? Using a high factor sun cream such as factor 50, and the whole thing is that you can't just put the sun cream on in the morning and you know, that's, you think, sure, it's fine, I put it on in the morning. You need to reapply it every 4 hours, especially if you're going to be in water. Now, a lot of them do say they are water resistant, but that doesn't mean they are waterproof. So some of it's still going to come off. So you're going to have to keep reapplying it the whole time. Otherwise, you are going to get burnt. And this is usually what happens, especially in the likes of, say, the shoulder area. This is where we get burnt the most. And getting burnt essentially means that a layer of your skin has, you know, been burnt, as if like you've cut your hand on like the hob or something. So it is not good for the skin. This is from the 2022 exam. So you'll see here I've highlighted the key information. So recommend, meaning I want a full sentence. 3 ways. So we see that they've given us 3 clear spots for us to write information down. Families could protect themselves from the sun. So we're looking at 3 ways families can protect themselves from the sun. So essentially 3 guidelines, okay? So they're looking for a high factor sun cream, for example, SPF 50, okay? SPF 30 isn't high enough. You should be using factor 50. And in this case, you have to say a high factor, okay? So these are sample answers based on the marking scheme. So you should wear a hat and sunglasses to protect your head and eyes from UV rays. Reapply high factor SPF 50 sun cream after swimming and sweating a lot, because when you're sitting in the sun, you're going to be sweating a lot because that's your body's way of cooling you down. So the next thing we're going to look at is oral hygiene. So essentially we're going to look at the teeth. So keeping your teeth and gums clean, healthy and strong. So teeth and gums are important because they help you to chew and digest your food, okay? So if you don't have teeth, you're going to find it very hard to break down the food and swallow it. And you need food so that you can live. So this is the internal structure of a tooth. So if you get a tooth and you chopped it right down the center, this is what you are going to see. So the top half is called the crown. So that's the visible part that you can see. And if you're getting the filling, that's usually where you're going to get it. The bottom half is called a root. So this is the part underneath the gum line that you cannot see, okay? So the outside of the top part where the crown is, you'll see an arrow to the right there called enamel, okay? So this is the hard substance that protects the tooth. This is the hardest substance found in your entire body, okay? Harder than your actual bones. Dentine is the bit which looks green. Now this is just a visual representation. It isn't actually green in real life, okay? It's not as hard as the enamel. You'll see underneath dentin, the pink part there is your gum. And then you'll see there are loads of blue and red lines that kind of look like wool, okay? So this is your blood vessels, okay? And these are found in the pulp cavity, okay? So this is where your blood vessels and nerves are, and this is where it allows you to feel pain and sensitivity. So if you've ever said, oh, my tooth hurts, or I can feel, you know, if you're having an ice cream and you can feel it, or you're drinking something too hot and you're like, ouch, that actually, you can feel it nearly within the tooth. That means you have a hole going all the way from the enamel into the dentin, into the gum, and it's hitting your pulp cavity, okay? So it is telling your nerves that, oh, there's something wrong, you need to get yourself to the dentist straight away to get it fixed. You'll see the yellow part here is the bone, and you'll have the cementum down the bottom there, and cementum is like cement, okay? It essentially holds the tooth in place, okay? Keeps it there. And then you'll see your network of blood vessels, okay? And that makes sure that your tooth is kept alive with, you know, the blood coming in and out, oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. So tooth decay and gum disease, I like this representation, graphical representation of essentially what's written down there, okay? So you can see the tooth at the top. So essentially when you eat, the food is broken down, okay? But also when you eat, you know that you have saliva in your mouth, okay? So that's a scientific term for spit, okay? So your saliva has bits of bacteria mix around with it with the food, okay? And what's going to happen is it's going to form plaque. So if you've ever not washed your teeth and there's like this like layer on top of your tooth and it's kind of like yellowy and you can feel it and it just feels all ugh and disgusting, yeah? So that's plaque, okay? Now if that is left for a long time, what's going to happen is it's going to set in and it's going to start to eat away through, essentially eat all the way in through your enamel, into your dentine and into the pulp cavity, which is going to hit your blood vessels, okay? So you can see that here. And what's going to happen is it produces the bacteria and the plaque multiply on the sugar which is found in the food, and they produce the acid, and that's what's able to break through your tooth, okay, because an acid has a low pH. So this acid attacks the enamel, which eventually causes a hole or a cavity in it, and that's where things start to get really sore. And you do need to be able to explain this. So for visual learners, maybe it might help you to draw this out and be able to explain the steps. So guidelines are tips for caring for healthy teeth and gums, okay? Brush your teeth after breakfast, not before. Brush your teeth after dinner. Brush your teeth at least twice a day. You can use a normal toothbrush or an electric toothbrush. Now dentists do, recommend electric toothbrushes because it kind of, it swirls around and it gets in places where a normal toothbrush doesn't. Try to brush your teeth in a circular motion because that's what the electric toothbrushes do. Use a fluoride-based toothpaste and mouthwash, so that means that it's going to make sure that your teeth are kept nice and strong and hard. And there's a trend at the moment for like vegan toothpastes, and a lot of them don't contain fluoride, so they're not going to actually keep your teeth nice and strong. Floss at least once a day to get at the food particles because your toothbrush can't get in those tiny little crevices. So this is why you should use floss, okay? And it's really important. And this is from 2022, short question, okay? Sample answers again, and I've highlighted the key parts in this question. So the first one I've highlighted is my action verb, okay? So it says state, so that means it's going to be a really short and sweet small answer, okay? So a tiny little answer. 2 guidelines. So I know that guidelines are essentially tips, and it's given me a space for 2 places, so that's good, so I won't forget to write my 2. And that I'm looking for caring for the teeth. So if I'm caring for the teeth, it's something I'm doing and not eating, okay? So it's very important that you highlight the key information in these questions. So part A of this question was looking for essentially stuff like eating calcium-rich foods such as milk for strong bones and teeth, and not having too many sugary foods. However, this is looking for care, so if you start talking about those points here, you're unfortunately going to get no marks, okay? So this would be stuff like brushing your teeth at least twice a day, flossing daily, visiting a dentist twice a year, replacing your toothbrush regularly. So you can't keep your toothbrush for months on end because it is quite an unhygienic thing. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is tips or guidelines for a hygienic home, okay? So you're going to need access to clean water. So in third world countries, they may not often have access to clean water, and they have to walk for, kilometers to get water, which means it can be harder to, clean the home, cleaning floors and stuff like that, because water to them is, very scarce, and they need it for cooking and drinking. A draining system that works if the toilet has ever clogged up, how that's affected the house. Good ventilation. If there isn't good ventilation, there's going to be smells in the kitchen. So if you've ever, like when you're cooking in the home ec room, your teacher will always say turn on the extractor fans, because otherwise smell's going to be left in the room, and if anyone burns anything, it's going to stay in the room as well and set off the smoke alarms. Good ventilation as well in the bathrooms. When you're having a shower, it gets very hot in there and humid, and that's what causes mold spores to grow, and then all of a sudden you have black mold in the bathroom. You want good heating so that the house is kept at a good temperature, and so that you're not freezing cold. You want easy to clean surfaces, so you don't want like wallpaper that's like feels like velvet, because you're not going to be able to dust it and clean it properly. Well planned rooms, so you want it to make sense. Careful disposal of all types of waste, so making sure that you're separating your bins properly. Effective lighting, so if it's too dark in the kitchen, it's going to be dangerous when you're preparing the dinner, because you could chop a finger off instead of chopping the carrot. So this is a sample paper from the NCCA. So it says, here's our family's healthy to-do list for the week. Drink a litre of water a day, take time to be mindful. Identify 3 other ways a family can promote a healthy lifestyle. So identify means small, okay? So you're just going to write down a very brief sentence there. A family can promote a healthy lifestyle. So, for example, you could follow the food pyramid, eating 3 out of the 4 shelves in the food pyramid. Exercise regularly, 60 minutes a day for a teenager. Keeping up hobbies, for example, soccer, so that you're promoting good physical health and mental health for your well-being. And there's loads of other ones you could put down there. They're just sample answers. So we have covered health and well-being 1 at this point, and what we're going to do is move on to the second section of this chapter. So our learning intentions now, we're going to be looking at the 4 health hazards. We're going to look at the effects of smoking. We're going to look at the government's response to smoking. Essentially recognise the supports that are available, look at alcohol abuse and binge drinking, alcohol poisoning, look at why teenagers drink and the effects, outline the government's response to alcohol abuse, and look at the supports which are available to help alcoholics. So we have looked at these first 6, and now we're going to look at the last one, which is health hazards. Now this one goes into this chapter and another chapter, and the other chapter can be accessed on the ExamRevision website. So health hazards, the ones that we look at are smoking, alcohol abuse and drug abuse, and internet safety. Okay, now there are many others, but these are just the ones that we look at in junior cycle OMEC. So smoking, okay, so smoking, everyone knows, leads to premature aging and death, and there are so many people who start to smoke, from when they're young teenagers because it's seen as the cool thing, but in fact it's detrimental to your health. So you need to be able to know the effects of smoking on basically the person, so yourself, on your family, and to society. So to yourself, it can lead to cancer of the lungs and the throat, heart disease, emphysema and bronchitis, so it's where it affects your lungs and you can't breathe properly. Smokers' cough, taste and smell are drastically affected. Difficulty staying fit and healthy because your heart and lungs are struggling to take in, the air. Working days are lost because you're sick and you're seeing, different consultants for different problems, and it promotes earlier signs of aging. So your body essentially is working twice as hard, so it's it's going to age faster. It's leading to aging skin. On the family, cigarettes are very, very expensive. It means that children are exposed to smoke, and this is called passive smoking. So that would be a key word there, okay? So essentially, if you have ever been in someone's house and there's an adult is smoking beside you and you don't smoke, you are still inhaling the smoke that they are smoking, which is causing a lot of damage to you, in the long term, if you're constantly beside someone that's smoking, even though you may have never smoked in your life. So smoking can cause premature births and it can cause premature deaths. So to society, smokers put pressure on the public health system as they use up resources such as hospital beds, doctors and nurses' times, okay? Cigarette butts are, you would hear on beach cleanups that they'd be one of the main things that's found, and people just throw them in the ocean and even on car park floors, and they're causing littering. So here's a picture of healthy lungs on the left, and you can see what smoking does to the lungs on the right and how bad it is. So you'll know from seeing packs of cigarettes that they all have these warnings on them, okay? They're also very heavily taxed, and that's to try and discourage people from buying them, which, if they're very, very expensive, you're not going to be able to physically afford to buy them. It is banned in public places, so you can't smoke in the likes of hotels, restaurants, schools, in hospitals. It's illegal to sell cigarettes to under 18s, and the packaging on cigarettes must be plain with no logos. So it must carry health warnings like all of these, and graphical images. Now this symbol here means that you're not allowed to smoke in that area, so it's prohibited. So supports which are available, so quit.ie, you should have seen these ads at some stage being played over the TV or even on the radio. And essentially it's a government support to help you to stop smoking. So alcohol abuse. Most people drink sensibly, however there are some people who drink excessively, okay? And research shows that Irish children and adolescents do start to drink at an earlier age than other European countries, okay? When you drink too much alcohol, it causes a whole host of issues, from being at home and all the way to your working life. So maybe it could be too hungover, and then you're missing out on work, or you're missing out on college, which then is going to lead to other issues. You need to know what binge drinking is, so this would be a key term. So this means that you're drinking too much, very high amounts of alcohol in a short amount of time, or essentially to get you drunk faster. So this is the amount. So one standard drink is half a pint of beer, a single measure of spirit, or a small glass of wine. Now, a lot of people know that they would have seen maybe people at home or people when they're out and about and they're drinking way more than that. And especially on the TV, you'd see maybe where a person is drinking a whole bottle of wine. That's not one standard drink, okay? That is many. So alcohol poisoning, okay? So if you drink too much alcohol in a short period of time, your body is, going to essentially not know what's happening to it, and it can cause alcohol poisoning, okay? And essentially what happens is you begin to violently vomit, okay? It's not just vomiting, it's really bad, okay? And what you have to do is you have to keep this person awake, because they're going to become sleepy. They could become unconscious, which means they could, choke on their own vomit. Find it hard to breathe, dangerously low blood sugars, they could have seizures, and even death could occur. So what you need to do is you need to ring for an ambulance and stay with them. So teenage or adolescent drinking. So essentially what this does is it interferes with your physical, intellectual and emotional development, okay? It affects young people more quickly because your bodies are smaller and they're not used to metabolizing essentially alcohol, and it causes more antisocial behavior. So what can be affected? School or college work. It increases the risks of teenagers taking sexual risks, which results in STIs and underage pregnancies. It can then lead to, long-term drinking problems later on in life. So why do teenagers drink? Because it's cool. If your friend's doing it, maybe you're going to do it. So that's called peer pressure, okay? Curiosity. I've seen people in my family do it, so why can't I do it? To feel good, because it gives you a buzz, because maybe you're bored and you want to try something more like an adult. You're rebelling against parents. You want to feel like you're older. So the effects of alcohol abuse. So there's physical, mental and social effects. So the physical effects include liver disease, stroke, heart disease, and certain cancers like mouth, throat, breast cancer, and liver cancer. It damages your brain and causes memory loss in the long term. Mental, so it can, increase the risks of anxiety and depression. Social, it might make them feel like they feel more confident, so therefore they're like, oh, I'm going to have to drink every time I go out so that I feel like, like a more confident version of me. Can lead to unacceptable behaviors like violence, can cause people to do stuff that they usually wouldn't. So say, for example, taking risks like drink driving, which should never happen. Effects on the family. So if parents are suffering from alcohol abuse, it may cause, the children to not be cared for properly, meaning they're not getting meals, they're not getting their basic rights. May mean that the child has to grow up faster and essentially become the adult. Financial problems, because money's been spent on alcohol and alcohol is not cheap, can increase the risks of marital breakdown, divorce, domestic abuse. In severe cases it can cause the children to be removed from the home by TUSLA and placed in a foster care. On society, uses up hospital beds, doctors and nurses' time, increases the rate of crime. It costs Irish business a lot of money, because if a person's too hungover to come into work, drink driving is a major cause of accidents and deaths on Irish roads. So the government's response to alcohol abuse, well, you've probably seen these ads as well. They definitely have them on the TV and in the cinemas, so Drink Aware. And it's essentially to, make you aware that there are, supports available for those who are being affected by alcoholism and, their family members. So alcohol is heavily taxed every year in the budget. They add a bit more onto it. It's, to discourage people from drinking as much. And drink driving limits have been reduced, so it means that you can get heavily fined and even lose your license. It's illegal to sell alcohol to under 18, so you have to get, your ID checked, whether that's in a pub, a restaurant, or in your local Aldi. Children aren't allowed in pubs after 9 p.m. The HSE runs, alcohol treatment centres, and I've talked about already the Drink Aware programme. So supports available. So you've probably all heard of the AA, so Alcohol Anonymous. So essentially allows people who are suffering from alcoholism to meet in a safe environment, safe, trusted environment where they can talk. Al-Anon is the same thing, but it's for the families and friends of the problem drinker. Al-Teen is specifically for teenagers who are suffering with alcoholism. And Rise is recovery in a safe environment, and essentially it's a charity that supports and educates families who are living with addiction, so whether that be drugs or alcohol. So today what we've looked at is health and wellbeing 1. We looked at health and wellbeing 2. There is a third section to this chapter, and that can be found on our ExamRevision website. So that's examrevision.ie. So you can check out our website, and the junior cycle home ec is laid out like this. So you'd go into one of our, say, strands. So say if you're going into strand 2 and you click into it, this is what you're going to find. So you'll find whatever topic it is. And you'll find like videos, self-correcting quizzes, which are fantastic. You'll find the PowerPoint. And the video is essentially me going through the PowerPoint in less than 10 minutes. So it's, short and sweet. You're getting revision done nice and fast. There's a junior cycle home ec resource pack, and you can build your exam with past exam questions, which are really good for practicing. So make sure to continue to follow us on our Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. We've loads of past YouTube videos, and we have them uploaded, new ones every Saturday. Make sure to check them out, and thank you very much for coming to today's Saturday session.